In today's video, we have some more NHL free agent signings to make note of here, as well as some of the new players from the 2018 NHL Draft have signed their entry-level contracts. We'll discuss all those players coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams. So if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So as I mentioned off the top, we have some free agent signings here to report on, as well as we have some of the newer players from the 2018 NHL Draft sign their entry-level contracts, and very well will likely, some of these guys will make their debut here in the 2018-19 season coming up this fall. Some of these guys will likely play a little bit more junior hockey as well before they make their debut, but certainly we'll see a few of them in the NHL this fall for sure. But let's jump into the free agent signings here first, and we'll get to the entry-level contracts here in a couple of moments. Now, first of all, I want to get started with the defenseman Colin Miller of the Vegas Golden Knights. As we know, he was a restricted free agent. He was one of the players we discussed the other day in our list of all the restricted free agents who filed for salary arbitration. There were 44 altogether. If you missed that video, there'll be a link down below in the description. One of the things I mentioned in that video was not to worry if you weren't familiar with the process. Here's a lot of these guys are going to end up getting their contracts done and signed here before they ever have an arbitration hearing. And he's another one here on that list. We've already seen a few others as well that we reported on here in recent days. But I really like the contract that Colin Miller and Vegas have negotiated here. I think it's very fair, and I think it's really good for both the player and the team longer term. He's worked out a 4-year deal at $3.875 million per season. I mean, Colin Miller is still relatively young. He's got a really good shot from the point. He's pretty good defensively, put up some good points, and I think he can be an excellent defenseman for them longer term. Certainly provide some minutes on the power play, as well as a good 5-on-5 guy. He's a pretty good puck mover, pretty good at good passer, and he got a good shot from the blue line. So Colin Miller is certainly a guy that I think can really be a good fit and an excellent long-term player here for the Vegas Golden Knights. In my opinion, they were quite lucky to be able to get him from Boston during the expansion draft. But obviously between Colin Miller and Kevin Miller, I kind of wonder if Bruins fans might be wishing they protected the other Miller. So if you're a Bruins fan, let me know what your thoughts are on it. I'd be curious to see, because I know I've seen a couple of guys mention that here before, that they should have kept Colin Miller and maybe exposed Kevin Miller. So let me know your thoughts on that. But if you're a Vegas fan as well, I'd like to hear from you. What do you think of this signing? Personally, I think it's very fair. I think it's a good contract. I think he provides good production for the value they're getting on this contract, and I think it'll work out long term here for both sides. Goaltender Alex Lyon of Philadelphia Flyers has re-signed as well. Obviously, we've seen Lyon get a little bit of NHL action this past season with the team running into some major goaltending problems with injuries with Brian Elliott and Michael Neuwirth. So Lyon had a little bit of success, but had a rough go as well, but not to be too disappointed in that. If you're a Flyers fan, I mean, he's still quite young, needs a lot of work and a lot of seasoning to get ready for the NHL, but he's certainly going to be sticking around. He signed a 2-year deal worth $750,000 here. So obviously, I would imagine Alex Lyon will likely continue to play at the American Hockey League level for the most part. They've also got Carter Hart prospect coming through as well. So obviously, he's kind of expected to be the goalie of the future for the Flyers. So at least they have a couple of young netminders they can kind of look forward to here, taking over the reins over the next little while, the season or two, between Elliott and Neuwirth likely moving on, and those two young guys probably taking over. That's likely the plan here with the Flyers in the next season or two. So obviously, I think that's a decent deal for Alex Lyon and the Philadelphia Flyers. We've also seen Dmitry Yaskin of the St. Louis Blues re-signed for a 1-year deal worth $1.1 million. He was another player on the RFA list who was able to get a deal worked out here ahead of time. So obviously Yaskin will be a solid bottom 6 player. I think that's a fair contract for Yaskin in the Blues here. Obviously $1.1 million. It's a 1-year deal, so the short term. So depending on how his season goes and how his production goes, obviously they can certainly decide, by mid-season or the trade deadline if he's a player that's going to be sticking around or not, and they could consider signing him to an extension beyond that from there, or they may look down at other possibilities here depending on how well he does with the team. But they certainly have a lot of forwards between what they've acquired in trades and free agency this offseason, so he's certainly going to have to battle, along with some great prospects coming up the pipes as well. You're going to see guys like Jordan Kyrou and Robert Thomas really push to get on this team this year. So we'll see how Yaskin fares, but at least it's a short-term deal. It's a fair value, so we'll see if he can earn himself more term beyond that here in the upcoming season. We've also seen the San Jose Sharks come to terms with Dylan DeMello on a 2-year contract extension as well. DeMello's annual value is $900,000 per season. So that's a pretty decent value for the Sharks. So another guy who avoids an arbitration hearing, gets an RFA contract off the books here. So that number of 44 players that we discussed the other day in that video is already whittling down here. If you're a fan of those players and those teams that have a lot of guys that they need to look after, I wouldn't be too concerned. You're going to see most of these get done here before the hearings get underway July the 20th. Well, we had a bunch of players sign their entry-level deals from the 2018 NHL Draft. Obviously, some of these guys are going to play right away, and some of them likely won't. But the big one, obviously, was Buffalo Sabres coming to terms with the #1 overall selection, Rasmus Dahlin. He signed his 3-year entry-level contract at the rookie max at $925,000. So he's definitely going to be playing this fall for the Sabres, 100%. We also seen Detroit Red Wings' new prospect, Philip Zadina, sign his entry-level deal to the same value, the rookie max, $925,000 for 3 years. I would think he has a decent chance as well, possibly playing for the Red Wings this fall as well. Now, there was some confusion I've seen over where else he could go. Obviously, when it comes to players from overseas, they have some different rules on whether or not they can go to the AHL and what the age requirements are and things, but he's not. It was believed that he was on loan to the Halifax Mooseheads, and if that was the case, he'd be able to go to the American Hockey League, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So for Zadina, likely won't be an American Hockey League transition this fall. He'll either play in Detroit or go back to Halifax for one more season, is likely how it's going to be, but it would not shock me at all to see him in Detroit this fall for sure. He has a ton of upside, and where the state of that team is at, I can't see why he won't at least get a tryout for sure, and at least get a small sample size of some games, and if he plays well, I can certainly see him sticking around. The Arizona Coyotes have also signed center Barrett Hayton, and they took at the #5 selection as well to their entry-level contract for 3 years, again at the rookie max, $925,000. I fully suspect he'll go back to the OHL this fall for another year. He'll be able to play a much bigger role with his club, and obviously we'll see what he can do and improve his offensive game. I mean, he's known as a two-way center with a bit of an offensive upside. John Jacob was obviously really high on this player, which is why he took him so high in the draft. He was taken much higher than expected, but based on all the NHL draft rankings. I know I had him ranked at least 5 or 6 spots below where Jacob and the Coyotes selected him, but they really zoned in on this player. They really wanted to get him on their Coyotes roster here. So, but I do suspect him to go back to junior, and he'll likely have a good shot at making the Coyotes the year after. The Chicago Blackhawks have signed defenseman out of Sweden, Adam Boqvist, to his 3-year entry-level contract as well. Now, it's pretty much confirmed he won't be playing with the Blackhawks this year, but he's also going to leave the SHL in Sweden. He's going to come over and play for the London Knights of the Ontario Hockey League. So that is going to be a major opportunity for him to learn and develop. That team has really done extremely well with their player development. They put out a lot of NHLers, and he very well could be teamed up with fellow 2018 NHL first-round draft pick Evan Bouchard of the Edmonton Oilers. Now, it's not really clear yet what's going on with Bouchard. He very well may go to the NHL, but it wouldn't surprise me to see him do another year of junior as well. So they could end up being teammates this coming fall for the London Knights. So that's all we have for signings for today. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you're all caught up on all the news of the free agent signings. If you're new to the channel here, I hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams, and there's plenty of content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.